Welcome to Chapter 11 of Principles of Marketing for a Digital Age. This chapter is on maintaining value through branding and brand management. In this chapter, we'll learn the answers to several questions, including what is the role of brands in marketing and what benefits do brands provide? What is brand equity and how does brand knowledge affect brand equity? How do we develop and manage brands and what are the elements of brand management? How do we use brand identity planning framework to codify our brand and establish brand cues in the form of brand style guidelines? And how can marketers leverage brand value to establish brand portfolios? The marketing mix describes the elements that make up offers. Offers are designed to provide value to target markets. Brands bring the offer to market. They represent the offer source, and importantly, the brand serves as the entity with which customers choose to do business. As such, the value of relationships in marketing is clear. You probably don't like making deals with people you don't trust. If you know someone, you'll be much more comfortable doing business with that person. Brands work much the same way. The integrated elements of the marketing mix form a brand's foundation, and brands employ the elements to establish identity and reputation. Initially, brands were simply non-generic names that informed customers of a product source. But now a brand is more like the face a company presents to the world. The brand name can add value and utility for the buyer, drive interest in purchase intentions, and communicate accountability for the buyer's post-purchase experience. Brands differentiate their products from those of competitors, but more importantly, brands reveal the values embodied in an organization to consumers, shareholders, employees, and society at large. Brands identify themselves using names and symbols as well as other design elements. These brand names and logos are trademarked assets used as tangible cues to relay meaning. When you see a product with a brand you recognize, you draw references about the product's quality, efficacy, and desirability. Just as services use tangible elements as the source of search attributes, brands do as well. While the name, logo, and slogan are akin to a brand's signature, announcing the brand's presence, they are superficial without the depth of meaning provided by other brand elements, including brand positioning, brand identity, and brand culture. Branding simply means marketing the brand to communicate and reinforce the relationships between the image associations and the brand elements. It is the process of developing a brand such that the tangible elements like name and logo stand for something. It is marketing's attempt to purposefully influence people's perceptions of a brand. Our opening vignette in this chapter features Airbnb, and we'll continue to discuss the Airbnb brand throughout the chapter. Though people use Airbnb to find lodging, Airbnb does not offer lodging as a product category and doesn't compete directly against hotel brands. Rather, it connects and facilitates transactions between hosts and guests using the Airbnb platform, earning commissions from hosts and transaction fees from guests. The more peer-to-peer exchanges between hosts and guests via the Airbnb platform, the more revenue Airbnb earns. Consequently, Airbnb has two distinct target markets, hosts and guests. You could see the Airbnb business model in the slide. Where does branding fit into all of this? It must seem that Airbnb has it made. With a market valuation of more than $30 billion, it's the epitome of a unicorn, a word used to describe a private company with a valuation over $1 billion. Indeed, today, Airbnb has strong brand awareness, ensuring that it may be considered by travelers as an option for purchasing overnight accommodations. While it might be hard to imagine, once upon a time, Airbnb did not enjoy the benefits of brand awareness. In fact, the company nearly failed. You see, when Airbnb launched in 2008, it was among the early entrants in the disruptive category of brand platforms, within which the product facilitated collaboration, peer-to-peer, and the sharing economy. Even among people who would benefit from a solution like the one the company offered, how would they use it if they didn't know it existed? This is a basic but seminal role branding plays in marketing. Airbnb has evolved in just 10 years to truly embrace branding. You can see how it's come along in terms of its brand from the beginning until now. Brands communicate product features and benefits to prospective buyers, serve as a heuristic for purchase decisions, set expectations for product quality, and differentiate a brand from competitors. How? A simple explanation is based on the associative network memory model, and it goes like this. An associative network is simply a chain of associations one records and stores in memory, and that can facilitate recall. The associative network memory model is a conceptual representation of the associations in memory depicted as a set of nodes and interconnecting links, where nodes represent stored information or concepts, and links represent the strength of association between this information or these concepts. As a person is exposed to brand assets, those are the tangible elements that represent a brand, they are stored in his or her mind as a mental network. They exist as a memory structure of the images, colors, sounds, symbols, stories, experiences, and our thoughts, feelings, and experiences. People use these mental brand networks as subconscious shortcuts to make brand choices. When networks of brand associations are visually depicted, they are called brand concept maps. You might be acting upon a mental structure like this when you go with your gut reaction when making a decision. People often make decisions seemingly on autopilot by using mental shortcuts. Strong brands don't happen overnight. It takes time for the market to learn to associate the brand name with the desired meaning, develop brand awareness, and build a brand image that is differentiated from competitors, positive and strong. If all goes well, the brand grows in value. This is known as brand equity. Brand equity refers to the sum of brand assets and liabilities associated with the brand name, and related symbols such as a logo, which add to or subtract from the value of a firm's offer. It is associated with several desirable benefits, including brand affinity, customer loyalty, positive word-of-mouth communication, decreased price sensitivity, and repeat purchases. Most of the time, marketers focus on brand assets, marveling at the billions of dollars in brand equity held by the world's most valuable brands. But it's worth noting that brand equity is a perception of value, and value is always the sum of perceived consequences, the good and the bad. Marketers work hard to add value through branding, but if the market perceives a brand as undesirable, untrustworthy, unreliable, and so on, equity could be a liability. We have three types of equity. First is offer equity, the sum of benefits and costs of the offer and its attributes, excluding brand effects. We also have relationship equity. This is the value derived from social aspects between the buyer and the seller. And lastly, we have customer equity, which is the total value to the customer. Customer equity links the financial value firms derive from customers to the values which drive customer purchase behavior. How much brand equity does Airbnb have? Estimates suggest that the intangible value of the Airbnb brand exceeds $5 billion. In fact, Airbnb's brand equity now exceeds that of every hotel brand, with the exception of Hilton, which remains the most valuable lodging brand. The customer brand equity framework illustrates the relationships among the variables that influence brand equity, and these are seen in the figure on the slide. Consistent with the associative network memory model, the framework highlights the roles of two primary variables on brand equity. Those are brand awareness and brand image. Brand awareness refers to a person's ability to identify a brand. When brand awareness is aided, it is called brand recognition. When unaided, it is called brand recall. The strength, favorability, and uniqueness of brand attributes influence attitudes toward the brand and brand associations, which form brand image. Brand image links to the brand name node. Basically, the brand name and other brand symbols act as an anchor that enables people to retrieve information about brand associations and the perceptions of the brand from memory. Image associations and brand awareness result in brand knowledge, which facilitates the purchase journeys of prospective buyers, ultimately contributing to brand equity. Image can be influenced by attributes of the marketing mix, such as price, product features, packaging, quality, advertising, and so on. For this reason, branding is indelibly linked to controllable variables in the marketing mix. Equity derived from marketing mix attributes is called attribute-based equity. Image is also influenced by perceived benefits, which may be functional, symbolic, or experiential. These associations drive non-attribute-based equity by creating emotional and symbolic connections between a brand and its target market. As marketers, we can influence image perceptions using product design, marketing communications, customer experience management, positioning, packaging, and brand characteristics. These are all decisions that marketers can control. However, brand image is not entirely within a brand manager's control. People are exposed to other sources of influence and brand information in the environment, like word-of-mouth communication from friends, social media posts, news stories, online reviews, competitor comparisons, and so on. Essentially, any association the market has established with the brand could potentially influence how brand image is perceived. To the extent that attributes, benefits, and other brand associations are favorable, strong, and unique relative to the competition, brand image should be positive and contribute to brand equity. A brand strategy is a long-term plan for guiding a brand's development and growing brand equity. Brand management is the organizational function that oversees brand strategy. Because brand equity can play a role in organizational performance like stock valuations and investor confidence, brand managers are tasked with monitoring environmental forces that may impact a brand's market power and making adjustments to protect and advance the brand's competitive position. They also facilitate the relationship between branding and marketing and guide decisions about how best to leverage brand equity while protecting against cannibalization and brand dilution. As the role of a brand manager has evolved, so too has its functional definition. Strategic brand management encompasses the design and construction of brand identity, the implementation of brand-oriented marketing programs, the evaluation of brand performance and brand equity valuation, and the design and management of brand portfolios. To build brand equity, we must establish brand knowledge, including awareness and perceptions of brand image in the minds of the target market. As we market the brand attributes, benefits, and other associations will be linked to tangible characteristics of the brand, for example, the brand name and the brand logo. These then establish and reinforce a memory network that can increase the likelihood that our brand will be remembered, including in a consideration set, positively evaluated and purchased. In brief, we take the following steps to design brand identity. First, we evaluate the 3 C's. These are consumer characteristics, competitive rivalry, and company context. Next, we identify a brand image that embodies favorable, strong, and unique brand associations. Then we construct a brand identity system to portray the brand and associations consistent with the desired brand image. Finally, we design tangible brand elements which can concretize the identity associations in a memory network. You've already heard about the role brand image plays in driving brand equity, but how can marketers build a specific desired brand image when image is a perception in the minds of the target market? Therein lies the challenge for brand managers. Image perceptions are influenced by attributes and associations, some of which we can control, but some we cannot. The controllable elements are used to construct a brand identity that will represent the brand in the marketplace. Brand identity is how the brand identifies itself to the world. It assigns character labels and it reflects the brand's values. You see, brands express themselves to the outer world just as you and I do. You want others to see you in a certain light, maybe as friendly, confident, laid back, competent, and so on. You manage the impression others have of you by portraying the desired identity with your actions, the way you dress, what you say, and how you say it. If you've taken an organizational behavior class, you may have studied impression management. Brand identities are how brands manage the impression they make on those in the target market. The identity we project to others is sometimes called a persona, much as we studied buyer personas in Chapter 2 to gain insight into target audiences. Well, brands create a brand persona to reflect their identity to the target market. Carl Jung, a psychoanalyst who first conceptualized archetypes as a framework for understanding oneself, defined a persona as what we would like to be and how we wish to be seen by the world. The word persona is derived from a Latin word that literally means mask. In other words, a brand persona, the brand identity, reflects how the brand wishes to be perceived. The relationship is illustrated in the figure that you see on the slide. As people are exposed to the brand identity attributes, they develop brand associations that influence perceptions of brand image. In other words, identity is created to impress the desired brand image. Brand identity is how the brand would like to be perceived, while brand image is how it is perceived. The brand identity planning model is illustrated in the slide. It depicts the components that contribute to brand identity. We'll take a look at how these components work together to make up the intangible asset known as a brand. We're going to cover each layer in the model and return to our Airbnb example to illustrate brand purpose, the brand identity system, brand offers in the market, and the brand identity imprint. You can see that these are the 4 components of an overall brand identity. The brand purpose can include 5 different types of brand purposes, and these result in desired brand share type. We also have a brand identity system where the brand is reflected as an offer, as a person, as a symbol, as an organization, or as a platform. The brand offer in the marketplace also supports the brand identity. And lastly, brands create a brand identity imprint that represents how the brand is illustrated in the marketplace. Today, brands are encouraged to embrace a purpose. Brand purpose was even selected as the Association of National Advertisers 2018 Marketing Word of the Year. Accenture defines brand purpose as the reason why something exists. For companies, it is the foundation of every experience. It is the underlying essence that makes a brand relevant and necessary. A brand's purpose expresses the positive impact the brand wants to make in the world. Simon Sinek, author of Start With Why, says brand purpose answers the why question. Most importantly, Sinek claims that brands that focus on why are typically more successful than brands that focus on what they sell. Alan Adamson, a brand consulting expert, said it this way: every brand makes a promise, but in a marketplace in which consumer confidence is low and budgetary vigilance is high, it's not just making a promise that separates one brand from another, but having a defining purpose. The figure illustrates that there is a brand purpose spectrum, such that a brand purpose may range from a superficial purpose of meeting a functional need at one end of the spectrum to a substantive contribution by establishing a sustainable legacy at the other end. A functional brand purpose seeks to provide a solution to a problem. An emotional brand purpose seeks to develop a relationship with customers. A symbolic or aspirational brand purpose represents a community and their beliefs. A societal brand purpose contributes to a social issue through corporate social responsibility programs. A brand purpose at the sustainable legacy end of the spectrum seeks to contribute to the world. Every level of brand purpose aligns to a desired market response: mind share, heart share, self share, value share, and legend share. Mind share occurs when people are aware of a brand and its functional utility. Heart share occurs when people feel emotional attachment to the brand. Self-share occurs when brands are used to symbolize their own self-identity. Value share occurs when brands contribute to societal needs and provide a bridge through which its customers also contribute. Brands that contribute to an existential search for meaning as a sustainable legacy may earn legend share. In the report Igniting Purpose-Led Growth, a report on the findings of a global survey of more than 20,000 consumers and in-depth interviews with more than 500 marketing executives by Kantar Consulting, it describes brand purpose as a journey. While the report advocates brands to embrace purpose beyond the traditional stakeholder view, It also warns brands against misusing purpose as propaganda. The study identified 5 characteristics of effective purpose-led branding. Those characteristics are that the purpose should be meaningful, it should be true to the brand's mission, vision, and identity, it should be unique among those embraced by the brand's competitive set, the purpose should be coherent in its integration with the brand's marketing strategies, and the purpose should be business proof in that contributions to purpose also contribute to the organization's bottom line objectives. The table on the slide features several brand purpose statements. Despite the value of a clear brand purpose for guiding brand identity, not all brands have embraced the concept of purpose. Airbnb's purpose statement also captures its slogan, "Belong Anywhere." Now that we've covered the brand purpose layer of the brand identity planning process, let's take a look at how we create a brand identity system. The second level of the model codifies the brand identity from a variety of perspectives. The result is brand essence, which can be thought of as the heart and soul of the brand. It is sometimes called a brand mantra and should capture the gestalt of the brand's identity. For example, Walmart's brand essence is described like this. The Walmart brand identity is like a great pair of jeans, a perfect fit, comfortable for our customers, associates, and suppliers. It projects a relaxed and friendly image. We love wearing it every day, and it's very, very strong. For Airbnb, it might go something like this. We believe travel is better when you experience it as an insider. Brand identity models approach identity from 5 perspectives as shown in the slide. Those are brand as offer, brand as person, brand as symbol, brand as organization, and brand as platform. Each perspective sheds insight into the brand's identity by addressing what the brand is, who the brand is, how the brand and customer relate, and why the brand exists. Of the extended brand identity perspectives, brand personality, or brand as person, receives much of the focus in branding design. Just as people have personality characteristics, brand research has demonstrated that brands can be personified and their personality traits clearly expressed. Some examples include trustworthiness, innovativeness, reliability, friendliness, ruggedness, and wholesomeness. The Brand Z study of brand equity includes a brand personality assessment because personality strength is closely linked to brand equity. Brand personalities increase perceptions of consumer-brand relationships and also improve brand likability. In addition to brand as person, other categories of brand identity associations include brand as offer, brand as organization, brand as symbol, and brand as platform. Brand as organization includes organizational attributes such as the brand's core values, organizational mission statements, and other organizational characteristics. Brand as offer acknowledges the associations of brand image that arise from the design of the offer itself across the entire marketing mix as it's brought to market, such as product features, benefits associated with the offer, the value proposition, and brand positioning. Brand as symbol includes symbolic and cultural elements that may be associated with the brand, such as metaphors, stories, myths, artifacts, rituals, and language. Brand as platform is a new addition to the brand identity system, which acknowledges the brand identity implications tied to brand ecosystems. Brand platforms can be thought of as digitized environments that are built to support a two-sided market. The platform hosts multiple stakeholders in a digital environment, facilitating value exchange and channel flows tied to the types of channel flow that we explained in Chapter 8, such as communications, product information, ordering, and payment between participants. Brand as platform represents the identity associations that arise from multiple stakeholders who converge in a branded digital environment to co-create brand-related experiences. Brand platforms can result in new and potentially unexpected brand associations. Another approach to understanding brand personality and its role in brand identity is to use brand archetypes. The brand archetypes that exist are shown in the figure. They portray stereotypical character traits. The underlying archetype is thought to explain the driving force or motivation behind the brand. Some examples include the explorer, the outlaw, the ruler, the sage, and the creator. There's a great book on brand archetypes if you'd like to learn more about this. Airbnb's brand personality is built to include several personality characteristics, and these are listed on the slide. Airbnb would like to be seen as inclusive, safe, adventuresome, open-minded, active, diverse, supportive, and inspirational. Airbnb's brand archetype is that of the explorer. The third level of the framework revisits key elements of the offer and its impact on brand identity. Carol Phillips of Brand Amplitude called the three elements benefits, value proposition, and positioning the trinity of brand strategy. Why? At this level of the model, brand identity associations are identified based on the go-to-market planning and execution used to segment, target, and position an offer with a value proposition and to the features and benefits of the marketing mix. In other words, this level of the brand identity system acknowledges that brand knowledge is influenced by the benefits of the product, place, promotion, people, process, presence, and price reflected in the offers brought to market and reflected in the value proposition and positioning statement. Brand positioning is how the brand wants to be perceived in the context of competitive alternatives. Positioning differentiates a brand offer from competing offers by pointing out sources of relative advantage and unique attributes. Positioning should still distinguish the brand from competitors, but here it takes a higher level view than positioning of a specific product offer. For example, Walmart's positioning statement is, for price-sensitive shoppers, Walmart is the retailer that helps them feel smart and live better because only Walmart delivers unbeatable prices on the brands they trust and an easy, fast, one-stop shopping experience. Airbnb's positioning statement might go something like this. Airbnb is the travel partner who believes people belong and connects people to opportunities for healthy travel that is local, authentic, diverse, inclusive, and sustainable. The value proposition is the basis for positioning and the brand promise made to the target market. It expresses the value the brand promises to deliver and the reasons the market can believe in the promise. The brand promise, though, can typically be expressed in a word or phrase as the most salient benefit the brand offers. Walmart expresses its brand promise with three key phrases: unbeatable prices, quality products, and easy shopping. Airbnb expresses its value proposition with the word belonging. Brand identity and offer design have an interdependent relationship. Any brand knowledge the target market has will color its perception of the value and desirability of an offer. Likewise, the offer design is made up of features and benefits that will be associated with the brand identity. The final phase of brand identity formation is determining how the brand identity will be communicated to the world. Brand identity is intangible, so we rely on visual imagery and verbal cues as tangible design elements known as brand assets. Brand assets are distinctive images, icons, messages, stylized words, stories, and other elements that can identify and characterize a brand. They express the brand with art and copy. The figure on the slide lists the key design elements. Selecting the symbols that will represent a brand's purpose and values, personality, and promises is a responsibility with long-term consequences for the brand. Companies invest time and money developing linkages between the chosen symbols, the intended meaning, and the brand. It takes time and repetition to establish memory networks in a market. Once established, the brand assets will serve as brand triggers, a mnemonic device. A brand trigger refers to anything that is associated with the brand that causes people to think about the brand. Think of McDonald's golden arches, Nike's swoosh, or Apple's line-drawn apple. As a market, we learned that the symbols represented the brands over time. Now recognizing a brand with an iconic symbol is second nature. You can probably think of several examples. Even colors can serve as brand triggers, like Verizon's red or John Deere's green. As the myth goes, Hermès chose orange out of necessity as it was the only color of paperboard available during World War II. But now Hermès is an iconic luxury brand, and orange symbolizes it. Google's logo colors might seem more appropriate for Crayola at first glance, but now signal Google's brand effectively around the world. The design elements concretize the brand identity, using secondary associations to express meaning quickly and effectively. Collectively, they make up what is called the brand imprint. That's the tangible marks that designate the brand. These are codified in a brand style guide. The brand style guide is a document that codifies how the brand presents itself to the world. Put another way, it's a reference tool that helps employees throughout the organization maintain consistency as to how the brand looks, feels, speaks, behaves, and sounds in the marketplace. Airbnb has created several elements of its brand imprint, and these are reflected in its brand style guide. What you see on the slide is an example of some of the elements that are contained in Airbnb's brand style guide. You can see that Airbnb has a color palette, has specific typography, and also has a logo and format for how the brand is expressed. Even the UN Sustainable Development Goals, the SDGs, have its own brand style guide, and some of the elements of its brand style guide are shown on the slide. You can see how these simple design choices serve to express brand identity in the marketplace, but once established, triggers are difficult to erase. In some ways, this stage of brand identity formation seems the most frivolous and superficial. After all, this is the brand's style, its persona. In other ways, it comes with the most risks because it is at this stage that the brand decides what it will show the world. There are 4 questions to consider when choosing brand assets. Brand linkage asks, does the asset intuitively trigger thoughts of the brand? Brand uniqueness asks, is the brand association with the asset distinctive? Sentiment asks, are any negative emotions associated with the asset? Brand alignment asks, does the asset fit with the brand's value and identity? The Brand Z study of the most valuable brands found that brands using brand assets effectively is a trait of high equity brands. The 3 characteristics of effective brand asset usage include clarity, consistency, and communications. Clarity refers to simple, clean, uncomplicated, connected use of color, design, and phrasing. Consistency means to deploy brand assets over time across channels and products in a consistent way. Communication means the brand reinforces the relevant brand purpose, principles, and messaging. Assets are used as opportunities to invoke reminders of key messages to maximize influence at different points in the customer decision-making. In addition to establishing and building a brand's identity, brand managers also design brand architecture, which depicts how brands are structured across the company's product portfolio. It depicts how brands within a company's portfolio are related to and differentiated from one another. You can think of it as a kind of brand family tree. The figure shown illustrates the types of brand architecture. The master brand or branded house strategy uses the master brand with a descriptor on a new offering. The branded house option leverages an established master brand, requires a minimum investment in each new offering, and enhances the clarity and synergy of the portfolio. The second option is the endorsed brand strategy, in which the offering is endorsed by an existing master brand. The role of the endorser brand is to provide credibility and reassurance that the endorsed brand will live up to its claims. An endorsed brand is not completely independent of the endorser, but it has the autonomy to develop its own brand identity. The most autonomous option is to create an entirely new brand, unconstrained by any associations with a master brand. When a collection of independent brands is assembled, it is called a house of brands. Procter & Gamble is an example. It owns 80 brands with little identifying relationship to Procter & Gamble or to each other. In this video, we learned the answers to several questions, including how does branding support marketing strategy? How do brands work to create brand knowledge and influence purchase decisions? What is brand equity? What are the components that are involved in establishing brand equity? What are the identity perspectives that categorize the types of brand associations that can be represented in a brand's identity? And what are the types of brand architecture?